One of the most asked questions in the art community has to be, how do I find my art style? As a person who's been engaging with art content for a very long time now, it's one of the main things I see. I believe most beginner artists think that when they find a style, then they're suddenly just better at art, and I understand why, but I'm here to break down some of the misconceptions about having an art style and how to develop one. Okay, first things first, random disclaimer! Nothing I say in this video is law, at all. I am not the father of art. I'm simply a person who's been consuming art content for years and years and years and have some tips on how to develop your art style. Okay, so what is an art style? The Google definition states, the distinct visual characteristics that define an artist's work. Have you ever came across a drawing and you just immediately knew who drew it? This is because they have a unique or distinct art style. I can look at the color palette, I can look at the way these drawings are rendered, and a lot of other details and be like, yep, that's definitely Smiley's art. So an art style is what makes your art distinct and recognizable, so how do you develop it? With my mystical and magical art powers, I shall teach you how to do so in 5 simple steps. Your first step is to gather your victims. You heard me. Let's go, chop chop, let's round up the artists you want to steal from. One of the biggest misconceptions about having an art style is that it just develops out of thin air. It couldn't be any more impossible for that to happen. I personally developed my art style from looking at different artists that I like and slowly taking bits and pieces of their art style for myself. So if I like the way that they draw noses, I would take the way they draw noses, and now that's how I draw noses. And because I'm taking from different artists, my art style becomes unique because I'm taking things I like from each. That's why I feel like you should get more and more references because it makes your art style more and more distinct. I cannot stress that part enough. Do not just pick one artist you like and copy their entire art style. You're not going to be fulfilled that way, and you're just going to end up with people telling you that you copied someone's art style. All you need to do is pick multiple references and then pick multiple things that you like from each artist. So if you like Samdoesart, don't copy his entire style. Don't only use him as a reference. Say you like Samdoesart and Smiley. You can possibly pick up how Smiley renders and pick up how Sam draws. That way you come up with a distinct mixed match of styles. So to summarize step 1, pick multiple artists that you would like to learn from. Make sure you know what specific thing about their art style that you want to have. Once you have those artists picked out, we can move on to step 2. And that is application. Okay, so you've rounded up all the artists that you want to steal from. Now, how do you do it? I have good news and bad news. Depending on what artist you chose, this could be a really easy process or a really hard process. There's 2 main ways to learn from artists. One is the simple, easy way, which it would be if they have tutorials on their channel or page or whatever and stuff like that. And the hard way is them not having anything like that and you having to sit down and study their art style. For example, if one of the artists you pick is like Whelp, however you pronounce the name, whatever, you know who I mean. If that's the artist that you choose, then obviously it would be a little bit harder because he has a complex style, and also they don't have any tutorials up, any at all that I know of. This would mean you'd have to sit down, open your canvas or your sketchbook, and actively look at their art and find out how to draw things. You may not know exactly how they do it, but you'll just have to find a way to mimic whatever you like in their style, which is a little bit harder to do than just watching a tutorial and learning from that artist directly. So to summarize step 2, figure out how you're going to learn from this artist, whether it be tutorials or sitting down and studying their art. I recommend you do this individually. So if I like the way that Sam draws noses, then I'm going to do a study of just drawing how Sam does noses, and then I would go to Smiley and figure out her rendering in like a whole separate canvas. I'm not going to try to put them all together just yet. Okay, now we're on to step 3, which is solve a problem. Everybody has things in their art that they don't necessarily like. So in your old art style or what you had before you're trying to develop, pick something that you feel like just isn't right about it. And when you find that thing, research other ways to draw it. So say I don't like the way I draw hands in my art style. Then I'm just going to research other ways to draw hands so I can fix that problem, quote unquote problem. For this step, you don't really need to pick an artist to study, but you can if you want to. For example, if they have a how I draw hands video on their channel, then you can use that to learn how you want to draw hands. But I recommend just finding something different, you know, because then it just feels like a fresh piece in your art style. So you can go on Pinterest and find something. Once again, you can look up tutorials, or you can literally just look at hands and try to develop it on your own. At this part in the process, we're trying to get rid of our crutches, so we're not trying to reference artists as much, and we're trying to learn how to develop things on our own and add new things to our style that we develop ourselves. This is what will give your style that uniqueness. For example, me, I learned how to draw some of my noses because I draw multiple different types of nose. One type of nose I learned from this art YouTuber back in the day called Christina lorre. I think she still makes content, but that's where I learned how to draw certain noses. But for example, for eyes, I just learned how to develop those myself from watching different animes and just figuring out how I wanted to draw them. Okay, so now we're officially getting in the home stretch to step 4 and step 5. Step 4 has to be the easiest part of the process, which is just putting everything all together. Okay, for example, I do this in chunks. So if I got how to draw eyes from Samdoesart, and I got how to draw noses from Christina lorre, and I got how to draw lips from Smiley, then I would sit down and draw a face using all those elements that I learned, put them all together, and then I can start to see my art style that I've developed. This part should be the easiest, and this is the part where you get to pick and choose what you like now, because you may like things individually from different artists, but when you put them all together, they might look a little bit weird, a little bit wonky. So that's where you can decide what you want to take out, what you want to change, etc., etc. And because you've studied from all these different artists, everything is unique now. You've created a unique combo, so now you have your own art style. Now we're on step 5, the final step: identity and fun. Your identity as an artist, at least in my perspective, is your subject matter. What do you like to draw? What is like a subject that when I see that thing, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what blah 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 likes to draw, you know? So for example, if you see a pink character, you might think, yeah, that's definitely Marsh right there, you know? Or if you see a blue character, you're probably like, yep, that's definitely Smiley. I know Smiley loves to draw blue characters. There's a lot that a viewer can pick up about you based off what you like to draw. So think about distinct things that will make people think of you. For example, for me, I would believe it's the way I do my backgrounds. Sometimes I use real photos and then just doodle on top of them. I feel like that's something that makes my drawings kind of distinct. Okay, now my little s'mores. Now that you followed this tutorial, you now have your own distinct art style. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you need more tutorials in the future, just leave them down in the comments below. I also wanted to mention that I'm working on a Discord right now for my subscribers that I have now, so we could do cool community challenges like me drawing your OCs, etc., etc., and you will be able to access sneak peeks of drawings, sneak peeks of videos, and other things. So yeah, I'll link that down below, even though it's nowhere near done. You guys can join, and if you can moderate and things like that, that would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, Marsh is out.